In honor of National Breastfeeding Month, we wanted to talk about some common questions and concerns moms may have when it comes to nursing their children. Here to help us get the conversation started, we have Dr. Pamela Berens with UT Physicians Center, Women's Center, and mom of two, Dr. Julie Gutierrez with baby Josie, who's 2 months today?
2 months today.
Oh my gosh, she's precious. Thank you all so much for being here. And Dr. Berens, what a great surprise. She delivered both my boys, so it was so cool to see your name on the list today.
My pleasure.
You know, you speak about this topic not only as to your patients, but you go around the country talking about breastfeeding. And I know that there's so many different areas to talk about, but I think a lot of times people just get nervous about the pressures of breastfeeding. What do you say to some of your patients about that, even before they have their kids?
Yeah, so I think that having good support is really the key. So I try to get my patients to understand where they can go to get help, so they never feel like they're kind of lost and not knowing where to turn.
And I think that's great, keeping that conversation open. And even if you've breastfed once with one baby, the second time can be a different experience, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
We do know that. Okay, Dr. Gutierrez, you are an OB/GYN yourself, a mom of two, and youngest is obviously Josie here, 2 months old, who is so precious. I can't even stop staring at her. Talk to me about your concerns that you had with Josie, not only as a doctor, but a mom and a new mom. Did you have some issues?
Well, so Josie was born prematurely at 33 weeks. Her placenta was not, or my placenta was not functioning properly. So I did breastfeed my first daughter, which was really challenging, and I think people assume that because you're a physician, you know what you're doing, which I absolutely did not. And I relied on Dr. Berens and our lactation consultants and my pediatrician, Dr. Parks, as well, to help me with her. And so with Josie being born prematurely, I was not able to put her onto the breast immediately. I had to do a lot of pumping, and because I struggled with Natalia, I was really kind of crazy about how frequently I was pumping. Things are going better. But it's certainly not easy even for physicians.
Absolutely. And Dr. Berens, how do you get off to a good start?
So some of the things that you can do is trying to get the baby really skin to skin at the time of birth, and to try to get that first feeding in the first hour after birth. I think that's really helpful, and that's part of the issue with prematurity. That's a little bit harder to get that early contact. But as soon as you can, you really want to try to do that.
I think one of the questions that I had initially, so both of my experiences with both boys were completely different. Of course, the first one, it's the first baby. There's a lot of questions, things up in the air. My biggest concern was, how do I know he's getting enough milk? And especially in the beginning, right? Because we're waiting for it to come in, or there's all these sort of uncertainties, right?
Yeah, so you really do have to just keep an eye on the baby's weight. It's hard for us to know how much we're producing. That's part of the trick to it. So we really don't expect the milk to fully come in until around the 3rd day.
Okay.
If it isn't in by the 5th day, then that's really a concern, and we do want to make sure that the baby's not lost too much weight. Generally speaking, so long as the baby hasn't lost more than about 10% from the birth weight, that's going to be okay. And the baby should be back to birth weight by 2 weeks. But again, it's a conversation that you need to be able to have to know.
Right, and be comfortable with that. So there's all these sort of wives' tales. I know somebody said, drink some Guinness or something, or have oatmeal. How do we increase our milk production?
So the biggest way to increase milk production is to increase demand, all right? So we want to be feeding the baby or pumping your breasts fairly frequently, at least early on. So every 2 to 3 hours. So that's going to be 10 to 12 times a day at first. It won't be that way always.
Right.
But at first, to get in your optimal supply, you really do need frequent stimulation to the breasts.
And yeah, just keep doing it, you know, as much as you possibly can. There's also this myth that, is it true that moms with smaller chests produce less milk?
Yeah, that's a myth. Most of the size of the breast is really related to how much fat you have in the breast, not to how much functional tissue is there. So it really doesn't correlate well.
And what about breast surgery? If somebody's had an augmentation or something like that, does that make any difference?
So usually augmentations don't cause a problem. It depends a little bit on where the incisions are, but not usually. Breast reductions, on the other hand, really can cause problems with supply, and so you want to watch the baby's growth very closely if you've had a reduction.
Now, if there is, you know, sort of that point where you're not sure, maybe the baby has lost some weight and you need to introduce formula. A lot of people tend to say, well, I don't want to do that. I mean, but you can still go back to the breast by introducing formula.
And with both of my girls, we did, at the first and second week of life, I did supplement with some formula, and neither needed it after those 2 weeks.
And there's also the conversation and question of how long do you breastfeed? And I'm guessing that's a very personal question based on the mom and the baby. It might be the baby's choice sometimes to say, I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it really, from a health benefit point of view, exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months or around the first 6 months with continued breastfeeding through a year really does still have proven health benefits for both mom and baby. I think sometimes we forget that there are health benefits to mom for breastfeeding as well.
And, you know, let's just talk about this too, Dr. Berens, because you speak about this topic all over. You offer advice to your patients. You offer, you know, the insight that you have, the importance of breastfeeding, but also understanding that it's something that is a natural thing. It's happening. There are nursing rooms, and there's also laws saying that women can do this. And, you know, this is something, it's a very natural, okay thing to do.
Yeah, I think things have gotten a lot better than they used to be, but
right.
Really, in the state of Texas, you have the right to breastfeed wherever you have the right to be. So it is important that people feel able to do this wherever they're going.
Okay, so we have about, I don't know, 11 or 9 women here at KPRC that are expecting. So let's talk about the issue of pumping at work. I've had to do it. Do you have any advice, either one of you, for pumping at work?
I think definitely making sure that you have a good hands-free bra, or you make one yourself with a sports bra by cutting holes in where the nipples go. Having a good electric pump with, and for me, I chose a pump that has a battery because I didn't want to have to plug it in, find an outlet and plug it in. And get your car and your room detail cleaned when you're done, because it is a little bit messy.
Right, right.
Oh, also wearing separates helps.
Right.
And wearing dresses is hard when you have to kind of scoot it all up.
Exactly. And just words of advice, Dr. Berens, because this can be a trying time, not only for mom, for baby, the partners that are involved, because it's not easy, breastfeeding.
Yeah, it's really not. And I think that's where we really need to focus, is supporting those women who want to breastfeed and then run into obstacles. We really need to be able to provide them with a safety net so they can actually meet their own goals. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help moms meet their goals for their family.
Well, great information, ladies. Thanks so much for being here. And baby Josie. And I tell this story, and I always say I never know who was more excited about when I had my kids, my mom or Dr. Berens. So it's always such a pleasure to see you. Extra bonus today for sure. To learn more and to find out about a physician near you, log on to utphysicians.com or simply call 888-488-3627. Thanks again, ladies.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.